Go live. Hi, I'm Shannon with the Shannon Jones Team at Keller Realty. And I'm here tonight or today with Mary Shuck from Movement Mortgage, Shalyse Kendrick, and Brad Jones, also from the Shannon Jones Team at Keller Williams. And today we are going to be reviewing the 6 things that buyers need to know before buying a home during a pandemic. So we have no idea how long we are going to be grappling with this coronavirus problem, but it is here now, and it absolutely is impacting every part of our lives, including, for sure, real estate. So let me go ahead. I'm going to share the screen and introduce you to our other presenters. There you go. We've got Brad Jones, and we've got Shalyse Kendrick.
Hello.
And Mary Shuck from Movement Mortgage. So if you're just joining us now, thank you so much for joining us. Welcome. If you have questions along the way, go ahead and drop them in the comments, and we're happy to answer your questions. And we're going to be reviewing, again, the 6 things that buyers need to know before purchasing a home during the pandemic. So whether you're thinking about buying now or you're researching for the future, it looks like coronavirus is not going to cease being a problem anytime really soon. And so we need to figure out, how can people move forward with their plans? So there's 6 areas that we're going to be covering. The first one is the real estate market. What is it doing now, and what's expected? So I do hear from people, should I just wait till prices go down? And we're going to discuss that. The second thing that we're going to talk about, and Mary Shuck is going to share some information on this, is what's going on with loans and the mortgage side of things. And then we'll be discussing how can you meet with people, and how will you search for a home with this pandemic going on. We'll also be discussing showings. So that's a bit different right now, for sure, and you need to know what to expect. And so Brad Jones is going to be reviewing that, as well as what to expect during the process. So what's the same and what's different? Because there are some things that are the same as they've always been. And then there's some things that fortunately technology has allowed us to continue with, but they're very different. So again, if you're just joining us, I'm Shannon Jones, Keller Williams Realty, and we're with the Shannon Jones Team, and we've got Mary Shuck, Movement Mortgage. So let's start with talking about the real estate market. Typically, you either have 3 kinds of markets. You have a seller's market, a buyer's market, or you have a balanced market. And the way the different markets are defined is based on supply and demand. So what inventory is there? Typically, when there's 4 to 6 months of inventory or more, that is considered a buyer's market. So buyers kind of have the upper hand in that market because there are more homes on the market than there is demand. Conversely, in a seller's market, there is lower inventory and higher demand. And for several years in Southern California, we have been in a very strong seller's market. And so what that has meant is a lot of competition for buyers, multiple offers, and that has kind of become the norm in our Southern California market. A balanced market is where there's supply and demand are kind of aligned with each other. So where are we right now? Well, when the coronavirus pandemic started, we were still in a very strong seller's market, and we had very low inventory and very high demand. And that hasn't changed. So obviously, a lot of people put their search plans on hold and decided to hold off. And we are seeing some more buyers now entering the market again. But even when real estate was declared for a time non-essential, and we were not really allowed to do anything, now we are, but with some changes. So even during that time, our inventory remained low. And depending on the neighborhood in Long Beach, we still have far less homes on the market than there is demand. Now, there are some home types and some areas where the supply has begun to build and it is not keeping pace with the demand. But by and large, we're still, like I said, in a seller's market. So is that expected to continue? Well, unless we see a flood of homes hitting the market, we do anticipate still having a seller's market for some time here in Long Beach and the immediate surrounding areas. And so that's probably not going to change. So what about prices? So what I hear a lot, and I know Shalyse and Brad hear this too, is should I just wait until prices come down? Well, we don't really anticipate that there's going to be a significant adjustment to prices. Economists, and I'm not an economist and I don't have a crystal ball, I'm not psychic, but economists have looked at the last 5 recessions to see what happened with housing prices. And what they found is that in 3 of the last 5 recessions, home prices actually went up. So during the 1991 recession, home prices did decline by 1.9%, which isn't real significant. I don't know that that's something I would wait for. And then, of course, in the Great Recession in 2008, housing prices declined massively. And, of course, that did turn out to be a good time to buy. However, that was a recession that was caused by the housing market, whereas our current recession is not related to the housing market. This is a health crisis that is creating economic impacts, and underlying the housing market remains relatively similar to what it was. Is it slower? Absolutely. Listings are down, closings are down, pending sales are down. So the activity is down, but we're not seeing evidence that that's going to really impact prices. So that's the first thing that you should know is if you're waiting for prices to go way down, you may have a long wait. Well, in the meantime, the other thing that impacts what you're going to pay greatly is what are mortgage rates. And so with that, I'm going to turn this over to Mary Shuck with Movement Mortgage, and she's going to talk a little bit about what's going on with interest rates and also what can you expect when you go to apply for a loan. So let me see if I can get the screen changed here. And
I can just talk from,
There you are.
Shannon, thank you. As far as the interest rates are still low, and we don't really foresee them going up anytime soon. Even with all the changes, even when things start to come back, the feds are still going to try to help the economy, and so the interest rates will still remain low. The one thing I will encourage is what I have noticed too is it's going to make a difference on FICO scores. Really important to make sure that you maintain your payments, that you're not late on whether it's mortgage payments if you're buying investment properties or going to refinance. If it's any other payments, to stay on top of your payments, make sure your balances aren't real high and that you continue to make those payments. Because what I have seen affecting is even though the interest rates will stay low, they're not shooting them up. With some people, they might have to pay points. Really important to make sure that you maintain your payments. The other thing that I was going to say that's really important too is during this time right now, changes were happening daily. There's all kinds of changes. Actually, just a few days ago, I want to say Friday, and then again on Monday, some of the lenders stopped doing second mortgages, so they won't do HELOCs anymore. Some of them still will. There's a big difference on the loan to value that you can borrow on. Cash out refinances are a little bit different. You have to have a 720 FICO score. Some banks have completely gotten rid of doing cash out refinances. So I think that the most important thing is, number one, getting pre-approved right now. Even if you had a pre-approval 3 months ago, you have to update everything. Talk to your lender. If you don't have a lender, I'd be more than happy to help. But to update everything from your documentation to where the guidelines to the type of program that you had, to make sure that you're with someone that stays in touch with all of the changes throughout. But really, I'm still seeing lots of applications coming in. People are still buying. As Shannon said, the market, there's not that many listings out there for what you still have buyers out there. And I'm still seeing multiple offers being beat out, even during this pandemic. So I agree. I don't see that going away. But your most important thing is to keep your finances in order. The one thing that will not change is the underwriter will still always look at income, credit, and assets. And as far as the interest rates, like I said, they're still low. Everything is still low right now. And so,
Mary, can you talk a little bit? I mean, what's the very most recent interest rate? If people were getting a loan today and locking their rate today, what would that look like today?
If you had like a 30-year fix, you can get at a 3.25% right now. If you have excellent credit and your debt to income ratios, you have enough, you're 20% down, you're at a 3.25. If you have a 680 FICO, and I actually had one who had a 680 right now, we were able to do it, but they're paying like 1.5 to get a 3.625. They actually won't put the interest rates really high because they know that they are going to be coming down. And basically what they're doing is they're keeping the rates low, even for low credit scores or lower credit scores. They're still going to keep them low. You're just having to pay for it.
Got it.
That's kind of the changes there.
And so, Mary, are there any changes in either the availability of loan programs or the length of time that it will take people to actually have a loan processed?
It depends. I want to say every lender is a little bit different. I know that with us, our priority is going to be purchases. Purchases come, you can have 10 loans coming in, 9 of them are refinances, 1 of them's the purchase. The purchase was the last one to come in. That's going to be the first one that's going to be underwritten. Because there's a timeline, right? A lot of other places you can see 60 days on their refinances. We're still at 30, 45 days, but purchase is number one. We're still closing under 30 days. We've closed one. We got an approval, one that I would send in. We got the approval the next day. So we can still close very quickly. I'm not seeing that, as long as that always depends on the borrower. It always depends on having the documentation. When a lender asks for the paperwork, that you have it on time. I mean, we can't close that quickly if somebody waits about a week, to get your documents. But as far as that, I'm not seeing really delayed timelines, but I am asking people to make sure the contracts are like 30 days or less. Some other places I'm seeing 45-day escrows. It's slowing down because
we are definitely hearing from some lenders with buyers who are submitting offers on our properties that they do need 21 days for an approval, and they're suggesting that we allow at least 45 days for closing. We're also hearing about a lot more kind of last minute and frequent verifications throughout the process. Is that something you're hearing or experiencing?
Yeah. So during this time, usually you would have a 10-day verification of employment before closing. Now they've moved it to 5 days, a 48-hour certification, and even day of funding, checking to make sure that the borrower is still employed.
Got
That's
it.
really what it's come down to, because at any time people are furloughing, and even as they're trying to open the economy now, you see a lot of places that are now starting to do the furloughs. So that's one part that definitely they're checking constantly on that. And also, like I said, even like with conventional loans, FHA loans, you have to have a 640 FICO now with us. Some places it's 660, some is 680. You have to have a 640 to do it, even though FHA itself is only a 580.
So there's overlays in terms
There
of the
are overlays.
requirements.
Yeah, there are
Okay.
overlays. We've backed off a lot of our overlays on our government loans, but we still have them because of how the situation is right now. Everybody has them.
And so that's really important. A lot of times what we hear from buyers is, well, I was pre-approved last year and it won't be a problem. And for some people that might be true, but it is definitely important to have a lender look at your situation now to see if there's going to be any issues now that there weren't when you might have looked before. Would you say that's true?
I would suggest anybody who was pre-approved a month ago check with their lender to make sure they're still approved. That's how many changes have happened.
Yeah. It seems like every time I turn around, I hear about some kind of change in a loan program or underwriting guidelines and what's required. So great. Anything else that you want to add, Mary?
No, I mean, my main thing is, yes, definitely anybody who's had their pre-approval before, like I said, within a month ago, definitely get that checked, but stay in contact with the lender no matter what, because changes are happening on a daily basis and it can happen. And you need to have somebody that is knowledgeable on all of the changes, because you could be approved and the next day go into a contract and something can change.
Terrific.
So you have to be prepared for that.
Yeah, definitely. Well, thank you so much, Mary. If you're just joining us, I'm Shannon Jones. That was Mary Shuck with Movement Mortgage. And we've also got here Shalyse Kendrick and Brad Jones. The three of us are from the Shannon Jones team at Keller Williams Realty. And then we've got Mary Shuck with Movement Mortgage. And we're talking today about the 6 things that buyers need to know if they are planning to purchase a home during a pandemic. If you are interested in getting more details and you want to find out the specifics of your situation, there is a link that I put there in the comments, and you are welcome to schedule a time for a one-on-one consultation. And that is on Calendly, calendly.com/Shannon-SJT. But I also put it in the comments, and I'll make sure when we post this later that is there. But we're going to go over some general things about what's going on. And for everybody, your individual situation is specific to you. So moving along, Shalyse Kendrick is going to talk about how we're meeting with people. So we're not doing open houses anymore. We love meeting you guys at open houses, but we can't do that now. And we love having you come into our office, and we can't do that either. So Shalyse, what is it we are doing?
What we are doing is we are inviting you to either a Zoom call or some sort of virtual meeting that we can do online that you're comfortable with. Whether that's Zoom, FaceTime, or Microsoft Team, we're getting together, we're meeting each other face to face to talk about what it is your situation looks like and how you can expect the home process to be. And we'll go over the neighborhood, the process in its entirety, what to expect, what's up front. We'll also talk about how you hire an agent and why you need an agent, and all that stuff that is imperative to get you on track to meet your goals when it comes to buying a home.
So basically, we'll be helping you create a strategy, because everybody's needs and priorities are different, and everybody's situation is different. If this is your first time purchasing, or your 8th time purchasing, or you have a home to sell, or you don't have a home to sell, all of those things really influence what that process is going to look like. So that's something we would do in a meeting. Once we have met with you and we've created a strategy, the next step will be to help you search for the right home. And how do we do that?
So looking for a home is almost similar to what we've been doing. We set you up with an online search, and we'll also be searching as well. We'll also look at off-market properties and opportunities that may be coming soon to the market. We'll also check with other top agents in our network to see if there's any homes that they might have brewing that might just happen to meet your needs. And then we'll also we'll look at virtual tours, look at Google Street View. We'll do everything digitally as much as we can until it's time for you to leave the house and look at the home in person. So that's
Great.
Yeah, video tours as well.
Awesome. Awesome. Cool. So yeah, we really are right now. It's definitely safety first. And so we do not want anyone to become ill or, carry the virus and have somebody else who is high risk become ill. And so we're definitely taking every safety precaution that we can. And Brad is going to talk a little bit about about showings. How are we doing that? So Shalyse shared that a lot of it is going to be virtually, and we're going to be, for our listings, we have professional photos and videos and 3D tours of everything. So you can get a really good idea of what our listings look like without ever setting foot out of your home. I wish that was true for every listing out there by every agent, but it's not. And so we still see some where there's like a few kind of poor quality photos that don't give you a good idea of the listing. That's unfortunate. But for those, we can be your eyes and we can be your feet, and we can go and look at those and get pictures and video for you and meet with you via, Zoom, or send you the video, so that if you're not comfortable or you don't feel safe leaving your home, we can do that for you. And then,
Well,
I guess
dovetailing into what Shalyse and Shannon just said, a lot of what we're doing is virtual. So the 3D tours, and Shannon's right. Some listings are better represented than others by photos and 3D tours. But what also is important is area. You're buying a house, but you're also buying into a neighborhood. So you're going to want to check things online like Google Maps. You can do a virtual drive through a neighborhood. If you're unfamiliar with the area, you can get online and virtually drive up and down the street. And then if you're really unfamiliar but you are available, physically getting in the car and driving around a neighborhood. You can include or exclude neighborhoods by going and visiting them. So doing all of that up front is going to give you all the information that we can give you. And like Shannon said, we can do FaceTime or Skype or whatever as we walk through a home. We can show you the homes that way. But we'll be able to screen them out, and eventually you're going to find one that you like, that you think you want to make an offer on. And at that point, we'll do some more research. We'll get some comparable sales. We'll look at recent market activity in the area and share what we find with you so that you can make the strongest and best offer for that home. Okay. And like Mary said earlier, we are still seeing some occasions of multiple offers. The market is still active. Buyers are still out there. If a house is priced right and shows well and is relatively easy to see, then it might be that there's multiple offers. We'll talk you through how that process works. Happy to do that one-on-one because that can get kind of detailed. But eventually you'll find a house you want to make an offer on. We'll write that offer. And once you're submitting the offer, we'll go through how that process works with negotiating. We'll get through that in a second. For in-person showings, if you find the house that you really want to see, but you just can't make an offer without seeing it, but you do want to go, California Association of Realtors does have some guidelines for showing. Face masks, most everybody has those. Gloves, shoe coverings, there we go, booties. Most people have the face masks. We have gloves and the shoe coverings to go into a home. Guidelines are 1 agent and 2 and disinfectant wipes, all of that stuff. We have the whole kit with us. But the guidelines from the Association of Realtors is that 1 agent and 2 other persons can be in the home, viewing the home at any one time, and they ask that the seller step out during that showing. Okay, so what we're asking is that limit the people that are going to view the home to really just those decision makers to the purchase, and might be a good time to make arrangements for young children if you're going to go see a home, to have somebody watch them while you're going to go look at a home. So all of that. Another consideration is to speak about what Mary talked about, having that pre-approval. A lot of agents won't schedule a showing unless they know that the buyer is pre-approved, either for financing or they have the funds available for a cash sale. So we might need to share that information with another agent in order to schedule the showing. Okay. And
that's particularly true if it is an occupied property.
Yes.
And you want to put yourself as a buyer in the seller's shoes and think about if you were going to have somebody you didn't know and you didn't know their background and they were going to come into your home, would you want to know that they were serious? Would you want to know that they were qualified? Absolutely. And if there's also an additional form that you're going to need to execute.
Yes, there's California Association of Realtors has some coronavirus addendums that have come out. One of them is a showing addendum that you sign per property. So I'm going to go see 123 Main Street. You fill out the form, and we're going to go on Tuesday to go see this house, and so they can track who's been in the home. Okay, if there's any issues that come up, it only makes sense with our social distancing and everything. We need to know who's come into our property and so forth. So yeah, we will need to send those forms over. That information, the pre-approval or proof of funds for a cash sale, that's information you're going to need to share with your offer anyway. So you might as well have it ready to go. Talk to your agent, us, talk to your lender, and make sure you have the package ready to go. So if you do like the house, you can make an offer right away, and the other agent knows that you're a serious buyer. Okay.
And real quickly, Brad's going to talk a little bit about the process as well. We're not going to go into great details on the process because most of the process is very similar to what it was. What I have done is in the comments here, I have included a copy or a link that will take you to our virtual home buyer guide. And that will cover everything you need to know on how to buy a home from home. And so it goes into more detail than we're going here. And then I've also included up above the link so that if you want to schedule a one-on-one consultation to discuss your needs in detail, we're happy to do that. We look forward to meeting you virtually. And again, definitely feel free to check out the guide. If anyone wants, we also have a guide to selling a home during a pandemic. So if you are buying and you have a home to sell, it is even more critical that we meet sooner rather than later, because how contingencies are working on selling one home and another varies greatly on what areas the properties are in. Some areas, homes are selling very rapidly. Other areas are a little bit slower. And so depending where you're selling and where you're buying, we can figure out the best way to structure that. But let's talk a little bit about the process. Brad, what's the same and what's different?
The process itself is still pretty much the same. The contractual contingency periods, inspection, appraisal, those things, those haven't changed. What has changed are
with a little bit of exception on the inspection. You don't need to be there for the inspection. You never did, but mostly people were, right?
That is a good point. You don't. A lot of inspectors, one of the ones that we work with specifically, has said they don't want the client in the home at the time they're doing the inspection. They're happy to meet at the end of the inspection for a wrap up, or do it virtually via video or Skype, or just send the report and be available for a consultation later. So yeah, with that exception there as far as the inspection goes, but the process itself of all your protections per the contract are still there. Okay, there are coronavirus addendums that might address extenuating circumstances that are beyond anybody's control. So sometimes it might take a little longer to schedule an appraiser. It might take a little longer to schedule that home inspection. So typically you have a 17 to 21 day contingency period. And if you're approaching the end of that period and you need a little extra time, there's a coronavirus addendum that addresses how that would be handled. And we can go through that with you when we meet virtually. Typical length of an escrow, like Mary said earlier, 30 days is still pretty common, though a lot of lenders are asking for a little longer, 45. Again, the addendum addresses that, but the length of escrow we can still do 30 days. We can review the process itself in more detail. A lot of you might have purchased homes before and be very familiar with the process. Maybe it was years ago and that things have changed a little bit. Maybe this is your first home purchase. So just going to review real quickly here, just a rough timeline. I'm not going to spend a lot of time on this, but the process to buying a home is still the same. Have a great consultation with a realtor so we really have a good idea of exactly what you're looking for. And at the same time, talk to the lender, make sure you're fully pre-approved, there's no questions, so that when we get started, you're ready to go. And if you see a home you like, you can make an offer, a strong offer. Searching for the homes, we talked about a little bit, in person, virtually most of the time. We'll negotiate for you. We talked about that a little bit as well. We still run across multiple offer situations, but we will get you under contract eventually, we hope. Once we do, the process is to open escrow. You can wire in your funds. You don't need to go to escrow to bring in your funds. You can do it through a wire transfer from the bank. That's your good faith deposit. Then your due diligence period starts. You have your inspection and contingency and loan contingencies. Those are usually 17 to 21 days. You run across repairs that you might want to negotiate for. We can do that as well. But you will at some point be comfortable with the purchase, or maybe you change your mind and want to back out. But you would remove your contingencies and move forward to closing escrow. 5 days or so before close of escrow, you get a final walkthrough. Make sure the home's still in the same condition it was when you made the offer. And that might be waived because of current conditions. That's up to you. If it's a vacant house and nothing's changed, it might not be necessary to go. If there were a lot of repairs done, you might want to go see. You get a final walkthrough, then you'll sign your loan documents and wire your money into escrow. Again, mobile notaries can come and meet you at your home or wherever you are to do the loan signing. You can wire the funds for the balance of the funds for the purchase. So again, you don't need to go to escrow. That's how it's working. Very, very much virtually. In fact, one of the escrow companies we work with, people just aren't going into the office anymore. They're doing everything remotely.
So the biggest difference in the whole process is that we may never see you.
In person.
And if we do see you, it will be we will look like this. There you go. So yeah, there you go. So this is what we're gonna look like. I don't know, I can't get it straight, but that's kind of par for the course too. And you know, you will be doing a lot virtually. So normally, especially with first-time home buyers, we like to sit down with you and go over the purchase agreement. We can do that via Zoom, and we can take you line by line through all of the paperwork via Zoom. You will be signing electronically. But guess what? You're going to be signing electronically a lot of the time on paperwork anyways. We use DocuSign, and it is very simple for you to sign everything electronically. And just the biggest issue is safety. So is it a good time to buy? It depends on your personal situation. If you would like to make a move and you want to take advantage of incredibly low interest rates, then yeah, it's a great time to buy. We do not anticipate that home prices are going to be plummeting. So don't get caught on the sidelines waiting for that to happen, and meanwhile have prices continue to go up and interest rates go up. Because if that happens, you could end up priced out of the market. Now, if you've got job uncertainty or financially this is not a good time for you, then of course put your plans on hold and, you know, sort it out when things are more stable. We understand this is not a stable time for everyone. And so your stability, your safety is the most important thing. But for a lot of people, it still is a good time to buy. And what's holding them back maybe is fear. And I totally get that, because this is a scary, uncertain time. And yet, as you can hear, a lot of things are the same. And we're adjusting to the things that aren't the same. So again, I'm Shannon Jones with the Shannon Jones Team at Keller Williams. This is Brad Jones. This way. I'm backwards. Shalyse Kendrick and Mary Shuck with Movement Mortgage. And for those of you who tuned in and those of you who are watching us later, we really appreciate it. If I don't see any questions here, but if you have questions, absolutely feel free to message us on Facebook. You can DM us on Instagram. You can hit contact from our website. I will be posting wherever this video is. I will post links for our virtual buyer's guide, for our selling a home during a pandemic guide, and I will post a calendar link. So if you would like to schedule a time for a one-on-one consultation, we would be pleased to meet with you and talk about your plans and your individual situation so that we can help you create a strategy, whether that involves buying now or someday. Because even if you're not planning to buy for a year or two, it is not too early to start the planning process. Do you guys have anything you want to add?
I do.
Yeah.
Okay, I'm just going to say, when you were talking about that, applications are not down that much for pre-approvals. Recently, they've actually increased a lot more. And I don't know if people being at home realizing that they either want to purchase a bigger home, or a lot of people that are in apartments and have decided they'd rather have a small home, any home, because what I've noticed is there's a lot more people wanting to purchase now because of the pandemic. And realizing, like, if this happens again, or if we're cooped up again, where do we have to be? We have to pay rent anyways. Mm-hmm. And so just something like with people were worrying about it, or prices, that right there foresees to me not seeing prices going down on homes, because there is going to be such a demand of buyers still.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So.
Yeah. Brad, Shalyse, anything you want to add?
Nope.
No,
Yeah.
Okay.
We're available for questions and for individual meetings. Just let us know.
Absolutely. Thank you, everyone. Stay safe, stay well. And if you have any questions at all, please reach out. We are happy to answer your questions. Thanks a lot. Bye-bye.
Bye.
Bye.